All right, if hearing about, the extension of all that kind of stuff and the line stresses you out, you are certainly not alone. A new study shows 55% of Americans believe this election day is the most stressful day of their lives. The study by Feel More Labs and Co. says 61% of millennials, 58% of Gen Xers are feeling the election day strain more than many others like the baby boomers. So we want to talk about it. I'm joined with psychotherapist Dr. Nanette Funderburk from the SEL Group, clinical director of LeBauer Behavioral Medicine, psychologist Dr. David Gutterman, and body language expert Blanca Cobb. And we're discussing how you can cope with the stress of the social media, the uncertainty. You can text us your questions for these experts. The number is 336-379-5775. You see it right down there on the bottom of your screen. Okay, we want to make sure that you know that this is a text only, do not call. All right, when you hear those stats about the millennials and the Gen Xers being really, really stressed out for this election day, Nanette, why don't you tell me a little bit about what your first thought is?
Well, initially I'm thinking of the age groups of those two categories. And so part of me is thinking about, those Gen Xers might be a part of that sandwich generation. So they're taking care of parents, but also taking care of kids possibly too. And so the outcomes may mean more to somebody who feels like they just have so much responsibility. And possibly, I don't know, this is just a thought, possibly it's not meaning as much or not as stressful for not the Gen Xers, what's the older?
The baby boomers?
The baby boomers, yes, thank you. Possibly because they maybe have been through distressing times already and they're like, you know what? This is gonna pass. So possibly this is a time where we need to look to our elders and learn some things.
All right, not that I want to call you an elder, Dr. Gutterman, but she did say, and you did say, yes, that would be me, the baby boomer.
Yes, it would be me. And I think you make a great point. I think that it's true that the millennials and Gen Xers have not been through as many of those elections as someone like myself. And so they don't recognize necessarily, the other side of it quite as much. But I think the encouraging piece is that it's a very engaged population. They care about what's happening. They are thinking very much about their future, the future of the country, and it's very, very important to them. So I'm encouraged, not by the stress, but by the fact that they are so engaged and involved. But it does make sense, and we can't ignore, in fact, that this also election comes at a time during COVID when there's already a tremendous amount of stress and anxiety out there, and the holidays are upon us. So there are a lot of other factors that are also contributing to it.
Right, so a lot of times Gen Xers, I think so, right, because I'm a Gen X, right, and we kind of grew up in the 80s life of, too bad for you, right? So Blanca, I think to myself, I wonder if some Gen Xers have a hard time showing that they're stressed, and I know you always talk about a baseline and what to look for.
Yes, Tanya, that's a really good question you bring up. Yet when you analyze somebody's baseline, it's how they typically act, how they typically respond to stress, how they typically respond when they're relaxed. The reason this is so important because it gives you a steady feel of how they are. But when there's a change in their baseline behavior, when there's a blip in how they are acting or their behavior, that's your cue to really pay attention and zoom in on what just caused that, because there's going to be an antecedent to that type of behavior. What kind of stress that just happened or conversation that gives you a lot of insight, because a lot of times people may not want to tell you that they're stressed or something that's bothering them, but if you can read it and then you can help calm or soothe their stress or address their stress, then they're going to feel like you really get them, you really understand them, and it's really going to help with rapport and bonding between you two.
Okay, we have text messages coming in. This person is asking, what is a good natural way to cope with the stress? I know a lot of us coped with stress during COVID-19 in probably not good and natural ways. Who wants to start with this one?
I would like to say, you know what, if you just do even a little bit of exercise, that anxiety, you're going to use up that anxiety, or you're going to use up more of it than you will store. Anxiety creates, or feelings create energy within our bodies. So meaning, when I say energy, I mean you you have the energy to move, so your heart will beat faster, you will breathe faster, your blood pressure may go up. All of those same things would happen if I told you to run down the street and run back. The thing is, you're not running down the street and running back. You're sitting on the couch and watching TV, and so that's why you're sitting there like, oh my goodness. Your body has made this energy, so that is the perfect time to go outside, or even if you just got to run up and down your stairs or march in and out of your kitchen or whatever. Use up that energy that your body has made. That will also help you to sleep better.
Yeah, get the wiggles
I'd like
out,
to add
right?
to that, Tanya.
Okay.
I'd like to add to that, if I may. And one thing is that people can do when they have this excess energy and you're around other people, and then that gives them fabulous ideas. But one thing that you can do is just squeeze your toes like really, really hard, because no one can see your feet. And you have all that tension, and then you just release it. And it feels good. I challenge everybody right now to try it. It's a way of dealing with that excess energy that she was just talking about when you're around a lot of people and you can't go outside or do something.
And I'll jump in as well. I think you bring up great points. The thing is that if you can intervene as early as possible, rather than spiraling down that rabbit hole of stress, the earlier you intervene, the better off you are. So there are a lot of things that you might do that you've relied upon in the past, whether it's music or a warm shower or reading or a movie. But the exercise, of course, is fantastic. It really only takes about 3 minutes of exercise to really have an impact on how you're feeling stress-wise. You can go a lot longer than 3 minutes, but the point is, do something that's different, whether it's with your feet and then toes or getting outside. It will help, absolutely. So, and sometimes it's not just excessive energy. You can find yourself, feeling like you have a lack of energy, but feeling very stressed. Again, the activity will be helpful.
All right, just even 3 minutes walking around the house, pumping those arms, maybe a little bit. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. You've got the number right there so that you can text us, 336-379-5775. I'm going to show you a Twitter poll that I did when we come back from the break, and it's all about stress. We'll see where you fall into that poll. Coming up next.